Hello everyone. So basically we're going to talk about in this YouTube tutorial how to do loadouts and how to make menu loadouts and things like that. Specifically for this tutorial, we're just going to do on player start. So as you'll see, when I spawn, I already have it set up to where when you spawn you get 3 loadout options, and then there's some nice little spacers here just to make it a little more just a little bit better, just to have that space in between the 2 options or 3 options. So we have assault, which gives you a long shot, MA 40, sidekick, and a thruster. So it kind of tells you what it has per loadout. So that way you have an icon, you have the name of the loadout, and then you have what you're getting out of the loadout. So if we select, let's just say this one with the bulldog, sidekick, and a repair field, it just gives it to us right away. And that is for every single spawn. So every time I go into this, it should just display it, right? And every time I do it, you'll notice there's no residuals or anything like that from the loadout being selected. It doesn't make me drop my weapons. It actually just replaces what I currently have. So we'll kind of build out what we need for this, and you're going to need 2 script brains. And right off the bat, you guys should know that if you ever deal with menus, you need to have a like a menu calling script brain for on item selected that compares all of your menus. And then we have the loadout menu itself right here. So we'll just kind of go into this and I'll walk you guys through how to do it. So you should be pretty familiar with how to make a menu and things like that. And so all this does, right, is on the spawn menu is what the menu is going to be called, which is going to be called spawn loadout. After a player spawns, and you can change this to as low as you need it. I have it at 0.50 seconds just because that just works for me. Just to see, for every single player when they spawn, it's going to wait half a second, and then it's going to display the menu to them. So this is all you're changing. This is going to be your action for opening the menu. And then on gameplay start, we've got our blanks. So it sets up 6 blanks for this menu, which are the spacers as well. And then we're going to go through each slot, which is 1, 3, and 5. And we're going to give each slot a loadout. We're going to name that loadout, assault or medic or recon marksman. And then we're going to tell with message C what is in that loadout, what exactly that loadout gives you. So that's the description for each one. So each loadout is declared here. Each one has its own icon set in the menu item, and then it's also going to get its message there. And then, so once an item is selected, right, we should all have that second brain somewhere, that core menu brain. So once an item is selected, it's going to get, that menu of spawn loadout is selected, and it's going to filter the information that we need, such as the object and the number, right? So the number is going to be the index. So what item did they choose? What loadout did they pick? And it's going to filter those 2 back to our main brain here. And when we go into it, we see that we have our loadout picked, right? And right off the bat, so this is going to be the important info. Right off the bat, the second they choose a loadout, we're going to delete both their primary and unequipped or equipped and unequipped weapon. We're going to empty their grenades. We're going to empty their equipment so that they have a completely blank slate. They should have no equipment, no weapons, and no ammo or anything like that on them. Then we're going to get the number, which is the index that they selected, right? We're going to filter that through, and this part's a little bit messy. So we're going to filter that through here, just the branches, right, between the options that we have. Remember, the index number has to be the number that you have for the index menu item. So if they selected 1, right, we have if selected 1, if true, and then that branches off. And then instead of having 2 and 3 here, those aren't really the options, because we have 6 options, but just a couple of them are blank. So instead we have to do 3, which is 3 here, and then 5, which is 5 here. And so whenever they select 3, or sorry, whenever they select 1, it's gonna give that player, and all of the player inputs here for every single one is going to be filtered all the way back to object. And so we're simply going to set that up for each one. So, 3 is going to be here and so on. So let's say we want to make a new option, right? So we're going to give this actually 8 spaces. So our menu is going to have 8 empty slots. And we're going to skip every 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to make a 7th option. If I can set this up. So we're going to make an option 7. And we're simply going to plug this in here. And we're going to, for our menu input, we're going to drag this all the way up at the top, right? For our spawn loadout, which is already being called when the player spawns. Should display it. And then we're going to say 5, 6, 7. And then we're going to name this loadout 5. Right? Loadout 5. And for this loadout, we're going to do a demolition. So we're going to make it a super, we'll do like a Hydra maybe. And for this loadout, we're going to name it demolition of some kind. So we're looking for kind of like an explosion or, heavy impact. So we got to go all the way up to D's. And so we're going to go all the way here to, let's see if there's like a word. Man, I really wish they had a search bar for this. Because this is so demolition. Nope, they do not have a demolition word. So we're just going to call this, let's see. We're going to call this destroy. Oh, wait. Demolition right there. Nope, that's destination. My dyslexia got me. So we're going to call this destroy. And for destroy, you're going to get a, we're going to do a spanker. And I forget if it's called the same thing. I don't think they have it. Tell you what, let's do a shotgun and a rocket launcher. I think it's faster if I just scroll. Which I can't remember what the rockets are called. So I think if we just do rocket of some kind. I don't think they have rockets as a word. We'll just do rocket hog because it really doesn't matter. This is just for kind of like an example. And then shroud is fine. So we created our next loadout, which is going to be option 7. And then what we're going to do is we're going to test it. So we're going to go straight into the game. And you'll notice here, there you go. So you have our destroy class. So we have assault, medic, recon, and now we have a destroy class. So for the destroy class, if we click it, you notice it doesn't do anything. Just kind of cleans us clean, or empties out everything that we have. And that is because every single time, right, that an item is chosen, it's going to make sure it's this menu. And then if it is this menu, it's going to trigger an event. And that's going to be a global event that communicates back to the menu script that we have here. And so when the loadout is chosen, it's going to delete, the equipped and the unequipped. It's going to empty out all the info for the player. Then it's going to give, right after it does this, it then gives them that loadout. So let's say we want this loadout to be more of a demolition. So we could do if false, right? And then plug in this info. But just to make sure that we have 0 issues at all, we're going to be a little more direct with the language of script that we use. And we're going to make sure that when they select 7, that this is going to run. So if true, right, go to player. And then we just want to get the object for every single node here. And we're just going to run this back and forth. Nice and clean. So on 7 selected, right, we are going to just give them a shotgun and a rocket launcher. Or we could do a Hydra. Let's do a Hydra. That feels a little more fair. Then we're gonna do, you know, dynamo grenades, because demolition, dynamo, they both have Ds, whatever. And then for the look here, we're gonna do a overshield. And then so if we go ahead and test it, right? Boom, there we go. So we got assault, we've got medic, we've got recon, and we've got demolition. Pretty neat, right? Pretty cool. So that is how you set up multiple loadouts, and you can change you know, the way that the loadout is given. So if instead you want it to be a terminal, you know, if you want it to be a terminal instead, we just simply go back into our script brain here, and instead of doing on player spawn, we're just going to do a terminal show. So don't forget that you have to go to your events here, and then on object interacted, I think it's custom events actually. Yeah, on object interacted, we're going to get the object that's being interacted, and we're going to funnel it to the player, and then we're going to show them this menu. So now when we spawn, we'll notice that nothing happens, but only if we interact with this right here do we get our loadout. And so this is for every single time we interact with this. It should just display it, and it should have no problem sending us back and forth between the different loadouts, because it is completely wiping the player and then giving the player all of the essential items that they need to be part of that class. So that is how you set it up. Just one more time, right? Just to run through it again. So on player interacted, they're showing that menu. The item menu is going to be called weapon spawn or spawn loadout, whatever you want. We are declaring a global item here, which is going to take up 8 spots. If we completely delete this, it'll have only 4 slots, but then we have to change all the numbers. So just to show you guys real quick what that looks like, right? We have option 1, we have option 2, we have option 3, and we have option 4. And then if we do, you know, 4, 3, 2, and then 1 chosen, and we go back into the game with 0 blanks, right? Just like this. So if you think this is a cleaner, more accurate look, you can use that method instead. You don't really need blanks. Just totally up to you on what you want your menu to look like. Just remember that the blank can be right there. It does have to be the very first thing that goes in. And then afterwards, we funnel the options that we have. We give them, you know, the appropriate names. The icon is going to be in the menu item. And then we funnel it back to our script brain for which item is selected. We funnel both the object and the number that they choose. And the object is going to be the player. And then the number is going to be which item they selected. So just like that, guys. It's not that not too complicated. And if you guys have any other suggestions or ideas, definitely let me know. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.